All right, here we are in the living room again. All right, what I wanted to go over tonight, I'm gonna tell you about it right off the beginning because I might forget. So, okay, this are two things to do after. This is a couple of pinning things from the spiral, off the spiral breakdown. Okay, I think that'll work. Okay, these are off the spiral breakdown. Okay, let's just review spiral. Okay, I'm lining up on his left side. I'm on top. Okay, I'm on top. Okay, so I'm starting on his left side. This left hand, my left hand, is the spiral hand, the hand that drives in a semicircle to a certain extent. In a semicircle, this hand is my pry hand or pry arm. It does the prying. It pushes out on the leg, and it's at some point it turns. I turn so my palm is up at some point. And I use his hip as a fulcrum. My arm is the pry bar. And I'm pushing out on the inside of his leg. Actually, what I'm really doing is putting pressure with my forearm on his hip. That's what I'm really doing. Okay? So, we want him to a hip, right? We know from before, we want him to a hip. So, the way I'm showing you is not the only way to do it. The spiral is not the only way to do it. When you get really good, you'll just grab my hip bone here and boom, pop me right to here. I'm sitting on my rear, you can't see it, but I'm sitting on my side, actually. Okay? All right. So, pry hand, spiral hand. Okay? And we can start like this if we want to be closer to that spiral. Okay? And right on the whistle, I'm going to immediately jump up there. Okay? And I'm going to try to stay behind this spiral arm. I'm going to make it a part of my body. See how we're doing this again? Making it part of my body. See? See? That's what you do. I don't want you a whole lot out front. It's not about that. You might do that as a decoy, but as all we're trying to do is get him to a hip, whatever you need to do. And the top arm's going to fly back regardless of how you get him to a hip. His arm is still going to fly back however you do it. Whether you hit a spiral or whether you even hit a hook, a tough hook. Okay? So we already went through the suck back going out front on a head and arm 45. Okay? We've already studied that one. Okay? Now, another one. Now we're totally into blanket ride theory. And like I said before, I know all you guys are familiar with the blanket ride theory. So anyway, okay? The first time we attacked the top arm, correct? We spiraled him to his hip and number one option, top arm. Remember? Super, super tough hook. Remember? Okay? That was my pry hand. It turns into my hook hand, remember? Boom, I get out of his way. This tough underhook is the only contact I have with him. See? Okay, and the ideal way is to be on both feet as we're snapping here. Because what we're doing is it's just snapping him backwards. Whereas we were snapping him forward before, now we're just snapping him backwards. Right? So we did that when we snapped him to his back and we went up front a little bit for the head and arm 45, we used to call it. Head and arm 45. Number one option. Okay? Number two option Same things. I do the same things. Okay. Okay. And maybe he beats me and he's going to his stomach. Okay. This is called cutting him off at the pass. Okay. Now we're going to have to watch this under the circumstances. Okay. I've done all this. I spiral, good spiral. Boom, this turns into my hook hand, a nice tough hook. Okay, but he still, you miss it, okay? And he starts to go to his stomach, right? And he's going to his stomach, okay? What we do, we call it cutting it off at the pass, okay? Now, this is where footwork is important, and I think it is good to be on both feet, because I'm going to ask you to do some pretty athletic things right here, okay? Bang, and he's fighting to his stomach, right? We've missed our chance to suck him back for points, okay? And he's worked his way back to his stomach. I'm on this hook right here, okay? And he's laying like this. I'm going to go around. I'm either, when I get good at it, I just shift my weight, okay? What I'm going to do is thread this other arm around the front of him and then drive this way. Drive this arm this way. It's just kind of a half or something. It's called cutting them off at the pass. And you can either just kind of move your weight like that. See, just a simple shift of weight. Because we go from tight hook here, we go around the head and under the arm. Okay? So now this can be a standoff right here. But we have to get our weight around there, move our body, move our base, move our body. And I go all the way around, and this hand is slid through. And then I do whatever I do to get the fall. But the important thing is to smoothly get out, make the transition, understand it's not all lost. If we miss him and he starts to go to his stomach, we're still hooked. I shift my weight and put this arm in like this on some sort of bar. It ends up, I guess. And it's called cutting him off at the pass. His head is kind of right here. Let's say this is his head. That's his head. Boom, I go around, switch. Look, you can't see my body, but I'm ready to wrestle down here. I'm ready to wrestle below my waist, see? I go around the front of his head and drive my left arm through and get to whatever you're going to do to score. However you're going to finish with whatever pinning combo you come up with. That's what I want you to do. Okay, it's called cutting them off at the pass, and it flows. Okay, the suck back thing that we talked about, and even all the way to this stage here of cutting them off at the pass, it might only take a second and a half. It may only take that to go through that whole thing. Boom, we hit the spiral, he goes to his side. He's a tough kid, okay? We're unable to suck him back, but we still have control of that arm, okay? Remember, I'm going to go either just a shift of weight or actually move my base around the head a little bit and shred this left arm through that arm that I have hooked. And then you go about your wrestling. You go and get your fall. But it's called cutting them off at the pass. And don't be surprised. Again, this is one thing that works better than later. Okay? So, don't let him adjust. Like if you hit a spiral and you want to look for a suckback, flow it all together, flow together with all that business. We miss a suckback, we cut him off at the pass. He's almost to his stomach, back to his stomach to save his rear end. We put this hand in here and then move, or you got to move your base around the front of him a little bit. to sink this one deep and to get the full. Okay, it's called cutting them off at the pass. Okay, and it's just a stage. We're on top. We influence him to his side or to his rear end. Hi, Bella. Bella's making a guest appearance. Anyway, okay. Top arm, #1 option. #2, cutting them off at the pass. Okay, now this is even some next generation blanket ride stuff. Okay, same thing. Boom, underhook. Okay, this time, okay, he's down and okay, again, we forget about his lower arm. His arm. See, if we're going suck back, once we go here, we don't need to worry about trapping this anymore. If we're going to go straight suck back, we don't have to worry about it, because we're going to have to get out of the way for that suck back like we talked about before. So I got to be able to get out of the way, just like we talked about before. Okay, the next gen thing is, bam, we got that arm and we're right in here real tough. We press it straight down behind his back. We get as much weight up here as all of our weight that we can. We get it up here. And then we end up pushing that arm straight down his back. All of my weight, all the weight that I can is going up through my body, down my arms and out my hands. Okay? And I'm on top of him, and I got as much weight, and I press him right down. I push him straight down. See, and I certainly can't move my lower arm now, because it's really trapped now. Okay? So we've spiraled him, and now we're on the hook. Okay? And at some point, we gotta push it down and get weight on it, get the other one on it, and push it straight down his back, straight in front of us. It has to be. We have to use our body and that kind of weight to do that. Stretch it down like that. Okay? Now that's next gen blanket ride stuff. One other thing. If we get here, and if we miss, next gen of blanket ride stuff is keeping the head, again, up. See how this is all up top? That's kind of what makes it a blanket ride. It's up here, and it's more finesse than actual brute strength. See, brute strength was never my deal. I had regular strength. I didn't have brute strength. Okay? Again, we get on top of the arm, boom, push it and trap him. See, that traps his whole body. His whole body. You got to keep weight down to get him to back point criteria. Okay? And be ready to wrestle here. Again, if something happens and he gets away, it's okay. It's just 1 point. So here we just push him right down to back points and then get a pinning combination that's right. That's right for the time and right for you. That's all. Okay? But just don't think about it like a tight waist, near ankle. Don't think about it. Think about it in a more flowing kind of finesse thing. You bounce back and forth. And also with the spiral, we can jump from side to side also. From the back, obviously. Driving hard one way, put the brakes on, hop around the back, do the same darn thing on that side. We had a kid named Chris Lalo back in the day. He won a state title, or close to it, with just a wrist ride. They let him clamp on there and never let go throughout the whole match. So, the next day, the kid would have bruises on his wrists. They never really, and if you're going from side to side, you're going to have more leeway when it comes to stalling, say. You'll have a little more leeway. Even though it's the same thing kind of on the opposite side, you may get away with it longer. It's not like getting away with it. I don't mean that. But Okay. We went to the two-arm push down. There was one other one that I wanted to, oh, heck, I forget what it is right now, but it was pretty important. Yeah. Let's see here for a second. What are we